somehow people bought into a lie that the allegiance to the structure of the state, even though the United States was founded based on a war of independence, all of a sudden people have this idea that, well, they have to perpetuate whatever system is in place right now. But that's not what living human beings do. I know you have a billion choices on YouTube, but there's very few that you can get authentic, Torah true guidance for you and your family and your community. And one of those is right here. So please make sure to subscribe. You could be the first to know of all the videos that we have coming out to help make sure that you thrive through this next period of human history. God bless you. The Topic Rebbe asked after the 1973 war, he asked Rabbi Lau, who later became the chief rabbi of Israel, in his office when Rabbi Lau came to visit the Rebbe asked him, how is it that the people of Israel don't overthrow the Israeli government? After learning of the betrayal that the Israeli government knew that there was going to be an attack and refused deliberately to call up the reservists and call up the army and to even notify the frontline troops. How could the people not overthrow the government? Everybody didn't point this out, but it's obvious. Every healthy, moralized people has overthrown leaders that when they realize they're not there for the interest of the people, they overthrew the commanders. They overthrew the government, because that's what living human beings do. Somehow people bought into a lie that the allegiance to the structure of the state, even though the United States was founded based on a war of independence, all of a sudden people have this idea that, well, they have to perpetuate whatever system is in place right now. But that's not what living human beings do. Living human beings say, do these commanders, does this structure serve the people that are here? And if the answer is no, they have to go. And if they won't leave voluntarily, and they won't, it's too long to wait for an election, there's just no other option for Lebedik people, living people. So listen to what Rabbi Lau said in response to the Rebbe's question. He said, we just went through the Holocaust. They're not able to muster up the strength to fight and overthrow the government. And the Rebbe started to cry. Because what it means, so painful to say this, but to see this, but what it means is that the people are so broken down by the propaganda and the demoralization of the Holocaust that the Lebedeckite, the full of life, I refuse to let someone else hold me a prisoner and pretend he's defending me when he's not. I'm going to speak up. I'm overturning the situation. That's Lebedeckite. That's being alive. That was no longer the prevalent spiritual mood of the people of Israel. And that's worth crying over. And that's really the status of the state we're in. We're in a state of demoralization, of which this attack last week is just one more wave of demoralization. But the people are demoralized from the Holocaust, from the attempt of certain military leaders in 1967 to lose the war, from the attempt to lose the war in 1973, from the complete failure of Lebanon, trying to free Israel from the PLO and destroy the PLO, turned into a disaster, a retreat, a surrender, and the PLO is 1,000 or 10 or 100,000 times stronger than before, than it was then. This is demoralizing. The Gulf War, defenseless, can't respond to the missiles. Constant bombings, terror bombings, allowed these terrorists allowed to run freely in parts of Israel. It's all signs of ill spiritual health, my friends, for all of us. These are the signs of ill spiritual health. So that's why we have to take responsibility for this also. As much as we're talking about the people, they need to be replaced. But we have to replace ourselves. We have to become better people, new people. We have to say, I'm unwilling to be the person I was now that stood by silently, that let day after day of suffering go on for the Jews and the non-Jews of and the Holy Land that didn't really affect me or didn't affect even people in the Holy Land. No, it's not acceptable anymore. It's not acceptable. And that's what we have to reach, that point, that we come such a point, and that's why we have to turn to God now. These incidences, someone's asking what's God's will. God's will is that we should wake up. It says in the curses, in the Torah, it says about all the things that will happen, the consequences of not following God Almighty's will. It says these things, negative things are going to happen. And it says, and if that's not enough to wake you up, then these things are going to happen. And then it says some more terrible things. And it says, and if that's not enough, then more will be revisited. And then there's more things. And it goes on. If you read it carefully, you understand that such a loving message. God Almighty doesn't want to destroy us. He's saying, listen, here's a clear plan on how to live life. Here's a clear plan on how to build civilization. Do it. And if you don't do it, there's going to be a gentle wake-up call. Like we see in the Tanakh, for every 40 years, the Jews started worshiping idolatry, and then the enemies came up against them. God forbid, but demoralization, despair is a form of idolatry, because we lose the reality that God Almighty is taking care of us, that we have all the strength we need. We don't have to be afraid, and we can do whatever it takes to protect Jewish lives. But when the Rebbe says, why don't they overthrow the Israeli government? And he says it's because of the Holocaust. So that's his excuse. Unfortunately, that Rabbi Lau, became one of the official representatives of this very Israeli government. So he was on the path, or already part of that system. His answer, however, whether it's the real justification, but it's the Rebbe cried from him hearing it, because it indicates the where we are holding spiritually. And we never say, the Rebbe's crying, why didn't he get up and say, these people, what's wrong with them? No, because he's crying, because we're all together in this. If someone else is spiritually off track, I'm also not spiritually on track, no matter how well I might think that I have things figured out, but I'm also spiritually off track, because I haven't done what I need to reach that other person and uplift him to be on track. So who am I to feel that I got it all figured out? I don't. I had it all figured out. We'd have prevented the deportations from Gaza. We'd have prevented all this from happening. We would have a new leadership of the army tonight in Eretz Yisrael. But when enough people claim back their livingness, when enough Jewish people and non-Jewish people in the world claim back their aliveness will propel them to do the right things in accordance with God Almighty's divine will, because truly being alive is in alignment with God Almighty's divine will. So I don't really need to figure it all out. All I need to do is make sure I'm fully alive and help you be fully alive. And then God Almighty will direct us, each one of us in our particular areas. Maybe it's someone you're going to speak to tomorrow, share this message with, and you're going to inspire them. And he's going to say to another person, and he's going to say to his cousin over there, and they're going to say, and boom, someone's going to suddenly realize what's going on, and they're going to take action. That we have the livingness, the aliveness to take action.